The darkest and most scariest times of my life was when I was homeless. And I was homeless in a state that I was not originally from. So I moved from one state, Michigan, to move to the DMV based off of pretty much so what God told me. So here are some tips if you find yourself homeless in a state that you have absolutely no clue where anything is, or you just end up unfortunately finding yourself homeless. So here are a few tips that I learned in my year and a half of being homeless that may help you. If you want to hear these tips, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Olivia Thomas, and I am the owner of Healing and Movement. I am a certified health and life coach. So, as I've stated before, one of the hardest times of my life was when I was homeless. And I was homeless in the DMV for quite some time. And so here are a few tips that I learned along the way of me being put all of your stuff in storage. So I put pretty much so what I did is that I ended up having to live in my car. And so to have space and to make it look as though that I didn't live in my car, I ended up putting my stuff in a storage unit. And storage unit didn't really necessarily cost me much. I just needed enough just to be able to put my stuff in the storage unit. So I want to say it was maybe like a 5x5 or something like that, but it really wasn't that much. And because I think it's like they sometimes give you like the first month was like $1, and then the rest of the months I think I paid like $80 something. So currently this is 2024. This was last year when I was homeless. So it was about $87 for like that small storage unit. It wasn't cheap, but I mean, I needed it. So I would say the first tip is to put your stuff in storage so that your car or whatever you're driving does not look like you're homeless, because that's the last thing you want to do is for people to be able to look in your car and see that you have a whole bunch of stuff in there, which causes some type of, I guess, like causes people to kind of like pay attention to you. And the last thing you want to do is kind of like not have people pay attention to you when you're homeless. Like, you don't want to look that way because you become a target. And the last thing you want to do is being a target. At this time when I was homeless, I was single. I was by myself. I didn't want to be in the DMV and to be a target for people to look and know that I was homeless. So that's tip number one. Tip number two. My tip number two would be to get a gym membership. So getting a gym membership, it can be Planet Fitness, it can be Lifetime, it can be Orange Gym, it can be whatever gym that's currently in your actual area. We have a lot of Planet Fitnesses here and they're fairly cheap. So that is where pretty much I took all my showers. So like if I had to take a shower or I had to go to the bathroom, I just kept my gym membership going. It was $25 a month for me to use the gym however many times I needed to. So I would sleep in my car. I would wake up, head to the gym, take my shower. After I took my shower and did everything that I needed to do for just to keep my hygiene, going, so I didn't have an odd scent or anything like that, I did that pretty much so at the gym. So my second tip would be to get some type of gym membership so that you can have some place to take a shower. Because I want to say during that time, unfortunately, just being able to take a shower was kind of a delight, was kind of like a happy moment for me, was just sitting in the shower and praying and asking God, like, when is this gonna end? Because being homeless is a very humbling experience. It's a very scary experience, especially, like I stated, I was in the DMV and I'm not from the DMV. I came from Michigan, which is a whole nother state, which is like 9 hours away. So get a gym membership. That'll be able to help you. Tip number 3, to get a P.O. box. So you get a P.O. box. That way, if you need some mail so you can have some place to put your mail. So what I used the P.O. box for pretty much so was for, at the time, it was for my business. And then for my business, I kind of just put mail in there. But nevertheless, I had pretty much so the P.O. I necessarily didn't use the P.O. box the way that I'm going to explain it. So this is what I mean. So the best way to use the P.O. box pretty much so would be if you're looking for a job and you need an actual address. And so that way all of your mail could go into the P.O. box. I didn't necessarily use that. I kind of did it a weird way. I kind of used, like, I had stayed in a hotel for a couple of months, and then I ended up pretty much so just sticking with the hotel's address. Thank God they never sent any actual, like, mail for those jobs, but I ended up using the hotel address. Don't do that. Get a P.O. box. Find you a really cheap P.O. box where you can have all your information put into there, or all your mail for that actual P.O. box. So that way it's a safe place. You know exactly where your mail is going to. You can use that address for anything, to get a job, whatever you need when they, depending on what type of job you get. If they have like insurance paperwork or whatever the case may be, you actually have a safe place. Unlike myself, you have a safe place to put your mail, because I did not. Like I said, I was staying in a hotel and I used their address, and I figured I had stayed in a hotel at least for like about 5 months. And they would call me if they, they had some mail for me. That was very, very irresponsible. So don't do what I did. So use the P.O. box so that way you actually have a safe place to put your mail, because I didn't. Tip number 4, I would say, is to stay in prayer. One of the biggest things that I think helped me along the way during the times that I was homeless was that I stayed in prayer, that I kept asking God, like, what he wanted me to do. Why was I homeless? Why didn't he, send some rich person or anybody to kind of help me during this time, to kind of help me get on my feet. At this time, I was trying to figure out, why couldn't I get a job? What was going on with that? Why? I just had a lot of whys. Like, how did I end up in this position? And the biggest thing was like, but God, I was doing what you told me to do. Like, you told me to move from Michigan to the DMV, and I did exactly what you said, and I ended up homeless in my car with a job. Make it make sense. And so it was the first time I was homeless. I had a job, and I worked my way up to being able to stay in a hotel for 5 months. That job did not work out well, and then I ended up without a job and having to sleep in my car for another couple of more months, which was very, very, very hard, because it was during the winter months. In the beginning, when I was first homeless, it was in the summer, and it was okay because it was the summer months. It was hot, but I could deal with the heat. Then when we got into the month of January, February, and March, it became very cold, and I remember it being so cold to the point where I would wake up with headaches because of the fact that I was so cold. And I don't wish that on my worst nightmare. But I thank God, as crazy as it sounds, I thank God for all of that, because healing and movement was produced out of that. This YouTube channel and the information that I'm able to give was actually the thing, that homeless situation. I birthed all of this during that homeless situation. So it's kind of like that scripture that says, it was great that I was afflicted, had I not have been afflicted. So I thank God for the fact that I kind of was homeless. Nevertheless, I would say stay in prayer. Keep your eyes to heaven. Like, if you have to fast, fast. If you have to listen to worship music, stay in a place of high worship, because you have to remember that there are seasons. You being homeless will not always be this way. And I remember, and this is totally off topic, but I had a pastor. I went to a church one day because I was like, God, you're going to have to tell me what's going on. I need to know. I need you to speak to me and tell me what I need to hear, because you told me to move here. I moved here, and now I'm homeless, and I've been homeless for quite some time now, and now I don't have a job and I'm homeless. Like, God, what's going on? And I had went to this church, and during, like, you know, if you've ever been in church, like, you pretty much, so like, there's kind of like a protocol. I ain't care about that protocol. Like, the lady was preaching, and she was ministering so well. And I was like that lady in the Bible that was like, I don't care. I came here for God. And like, I literally ran to the altar while she was preaching. And I just fell on my knees in tears, crying like, God, you gotta give me something, because your girl over here, no family, no support system. Then at this time, no job. I couldn't even get food stamps in freaking the DMV. Like, they wouldn't even give me food stamps when I was homeless. And I was like, I can't get no food stamps. Like, I'm begging my friends and my family, which they were amazing. I love them so much. Like, to like give me money, because I don't have any money to do anything. So, God, what am I supposed to be learning? What is the lesson? Like, it's giving Job vibes, like, all over the place. Like, I'm feeling like I am the girl version of Job. Like, Job, what would it be? Like, I don't know a girl name for Job, but Joanne. Yep, Joanne. That would have been my name, is Joanne. Joanne, because it was really bad for me. And the lady had prophesied to me, one of the pastor's wife had prophesied to me, and she sung and she was like, it won't always be like this. So I say all of that to say that if you find yourself homeless, you find yourself in a situation that is just you asking God, like, when is this gonna end? Just remember that it won't always be like this. This is gonna be a testimony to how good God is. So tip number 5, and if you find yourself homeless, what you can do is stay positive, stay productive, stay positive. A lot of times what I did was, when I was homeless, my routine was to wherever I was sleeping at, because sometimes I would be sleeping in a hospital parking garage. I've slept in grocery store parking lots, 24-hour grocery store parking lots. I've slept in, I want to say, neighborhoods, and I've slept in parks, sleeping in my car. And so one of the things that I did every day was I would wake up, I would pray, I would drive to the gym, take my shower. I might work out, I might not, depending on how I felt that day. And then I would go to a place that had Wi-Fi. And I would apply for jobs. First I would, because I was fasting during that time too. So I fast, and I would fast. So, and it was after me reading the Bible. I read the Bible. Well, during time I was fasting. And so I was reading the Bible. And I read my Bible for maybe like the first hour. And then I would apply for jobs. So that was my way of putting God first in my day. Was before I applied for any job, I would read my Bible. I would read a scripture or two, or I would listen to a sermon, or whatever the case may be. I did that. Then I would look for jobs, and then once I looked for jobs for a couple hours, I then actually start working on the projects that you're gonna actually see. So I stayed positive. So now within the couple of years, I made, well, not a couple of years, but I take that away, but I made workbooks. And little did I know that those workbooks of me while I was homeless would turn into a coaching business. So the workbooks was the things that I was working on. And I was trying to sell these workbooks on different platforms, and it did not work. And the more and more I prayed and I asked God, like, what do you want me to do? Like, you know, I know that this homelessness, me being homeless, there has to be something that comes from this. And I heard him say healing and movement. Healing and movement was something that I had wanted to do years ago, and I just didn't have the confidence to do it. So being homeless and overcoming homelessness allowed me to be able to, or gave me the courage to be able to do what I do today. I want to kind of debunk or remove the stereotype of people, if you're homeless, that means that you don't have a job or you don't want to work. That is actually false. I had a full-time job and I was homeless. I had 2 jobs and I was homeless. I had a job where I was making over $50,000 and I was still homeless. Instead of being able to sleep in my car, I then moved into being able to stay into a hotel for about a few months. And then I ended up having to move back into my car because I couldn't afford the hotel, because hotels, I guess after COVID, became very expensive. And a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you just get an apartment? Well, my faith during that time was very strong, and I kept asking God where he wanted me to move to. And he never gave me a place to move, so I didn't move. I didn't want to move to a city where God did not tell me to go. And so I stayed in a hotel until it ran out, which I'm actually kind of happy that I didn't necessarily move into an apartment, because I would have lost that apartment and that would have been very tragic for me. So I'm grateful for the fact that I ended up I stayed in a hotel as long as I was. But to try to debunk it, and I say all this to say that when you see somebody that's homeless, that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a job. Every homeless person isn't, because they don't want to work. I wanted to work, but I couldn't find a job. There were times that I was homeless that I didn't have a job at all. And gracious enough, my family stepped in and supported me. I had to learn that family wasn't always blood. So they supported me and they helped me as much as they could. And I'm very grateful for each and every one of these individuals. So shout out to my family. Y'all know who y'all are, who helped me. Because I didn't have a dime to my name. Like I literally prayed one day. I had $7, and this is totally going off, but this is a testimony. But I had $7, and I was like, Lord, should I put this in my tank or should I eat today? And he literally told me to put it in church. And I was like, what? Like, you want me to put the $7 that I have left into church? And the thing was, I wasn't even going to church. He even told me like what church to put it in and everything. And I was like, okay. And I did that. After I did that, I'm like, okay, God, now I have no money to eat or put in my tank. One of my friends texted me and said, hey, here's $40. And I was so gracious and I cried so hard that that was a blessing. Oh, and here's a bonus tip. I just thought about it. Try to find a job that gives you some type of discount. So let's say a restaurant will give you food so you don't have to worry about food. Or try to find a job at a hotel. A hotel will give you a discount on their rooms so that you can use their rooms if you're sleeping in your car, and you find a job that gives you a discount on rooms. You can actually use their rooms. You get a discount so you can not sleep in your car every day, but at least you can kind of sleep in your car some of the time. Because a lot of times I was in and out of hotels and my car until God bless, and me and my now husband live in a beautiful condo. So yeah, but I hope that this video helped you. Like, subscribe. If you know someone who's found themselves possibly homeless, please share this with them. Hopefully this information will actually be able to help them. I'll put some places in the places that I have, I guess, like for like gym memberships and stuff like that. I'll put them in the description. But most definitely, please share this with someone who is possibly homeless and kind of going through it or going through a rough time. Like I said, like, subscribe, and I thank you so much for listening to me, and I will see you in the next video. Walk in peace, not in pieces. God bless.